I'm Kanan Stark, and I'm a no-good motherfucker. I ran in the street with your dad, did a lot of bad wish, we hurt a lot of people. I ain't never been good. I wasn't raised that way. Not many villains in contemporary television history were as ruthless as Power's chief mischief maker and arch-nemesis turned fallen ally, Kanan Stark. Though seemingly just a brute who took unique pleasure violently intimidating any soul foolish enough to cross him, there was much more to Kanan than met the eye. And in today's video, we'll be completely analyzing his character, including pros and cons, story breakdown by season, and his overall series arc. Before we begin, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to immediately receive these videos. Also, as I forgot to mention in part 1, a spoiler alert is now in effect for all things Power. Here we go. Kanan's character archetype was parallel to the streets themselves. He was rugged, unmerciful, and barbarous, all aspects of street life necessary to survive in such an environment. Additionally, he was a cold-blooded killer who found joy in the carnage brought on by failed street transactions and ambitious power plays. In the latter's case, Kanan thrived due to his proclivity for manipulation and long-range thinking. Kanan was indeed a chess player, mapping out every maneuver cautiously before choosing to act. He implemented this characteristic from the very beginning against Ghost, his former protege who had sent him to prison for 10 years with the help of Tasha. Kanan served as mentor to a young Ghost and Tommy, raising them up in the aforementioned concrete jungle of Queens. At some point, we know that he came into conflict with Ghost's father due to his influence on the junior St. Patrick. This conflict resulted in Ghost's father's demise, something that Courtney Kemp previously alluded to both Breeze and Kanan being the culprits of. I covered this theory heavily in this video for more information. Following this event and Ghost's removal of Breeze, Kanan took over the reins of their street enterprise and directed Ghost and Tommy's street endeavors until being set up by the former and subsequently sent upstate. It's under these circumstances that we met Kanan in Power's debut season. As an inmate, he was introduced as sort of a consigliere to Ghost and father to his estranged son, Sean. Sean visited Kanan in prison, albeit begrudgingly at first. It was Ghost who encouraged Sean to release any hatred towards his father, stating, quote, "You need to go see him, kid. Don't judge him." Kanan did what he had to survive. We all do. In hindsight, this was a subtle allusion to not only Kanan's actions, but Ghost's prior manipulation against him. Sean was an integral part of Kanan's story, as he wasn't merely his son, but a potential mole in Ghost's operation being his driver. Kanan established a relationship with Sean from behind bars in hopes of leveraging his relationship with Ghost for personal gain. His vengeful plot against his former understudy was hatched from the moment Sean revealed his close working affiliation with Ghost. In addition to this, Kanan devised calculated hits on Ghost and Tommy's drug organization, leading them into a frenzy until finally settling on the quote-unquote true culprit, Roller, leader of the RSKs and one of Ghost's leading premierists and understudy in his own right. Ghost confirmed Roller's involvement after consulting with Kanan. The latter revealed information on Roller's Miami trip and hired Hitter, a pretty but deadly Latina with a penchant for pink shoes. This series of events solidified two realities for Kanan as it pertained to Ghost. For one, he had his full trust, and secondly, he knew his former protege would soon be all alone, weakened by the loss of a fierce ally who would have potentially opposed Kanan once he regained freedom. Kanan's revelation led to Roller's demise at the hands of Ghost, the first of many emotionally charged kills throughout the series. Upon release, Kanan expected Ghost's execution to be finalized, but after Sean confirmed Ghost's survival, Kanan went on a tear to find Pink Sneakers and eliminate her as a loose end. This is where we find Kanan's story in the beginning of Season 2. With another failed attempt on his rival, Kanan restructured his plot. Instead of open opposition, he chose subtle infiltration. He strategically kept his distance from Ghost in the immediate aftermath of the botched hit. Once the smoke cleared, he revealed himself in the spirit of friendship. Though he and Ghost shared a camaraderie, there was also an underlying tension. Kanan's soliloquy about no friends being on the street was a clandestine blueprint for his future invasion. Ghost and his mentor were sparring covertly in retrospect, and Kanan understood this well. Thus, his plan centered on Tommy. Tommy was especially excited to see his former boss and street mentor upon release. Remember, it was Ghost and Tasha who sent Kanan away. Tommy had no knowledge of the deception. Kanan utilized this elation to gain a foothold in Ghost and Tommy's organization. He attended meetings with Tommy and took part in drug-related discussions. In these settings, Kanan flexed his ambition for personal gain. For instance, at the infamous RSK meetup with Q-Dubs, Kanan exacerbated tensions and subsequently killed Q and other members of his organization. When Ghost returned from his Miami trip, Kanan boldly took credit for the caper and suggested he and his crew take over the RSK territory. Kanan's crew post-prison consisted of a then unknown Dre, someone who he befriended on the inside. Kanan used Dre to take out the aforementioned Pink Sneakers, silencing her from revealing him as the true culprit against Ghost. Once that business was settled, Kanan pulled even closer to Tommy and brutally condemned any person who jeopardized his conspiracy. This notably occurred with Brock, a member of Dre's drug coalition. After disrespecting Tommy during a business meeting, Kanan annihilated him, cut his tongue out, and tied it to his hands as a lesson in regulation. This excessive display kept Kanan's maneuvers unaffected and Dre in total lockstep. With Kanan's crew in place, he focused on gaining access to the maniacal Lobos Ghost and Tommy's connect. He did this by inspiring dissension amongst their primeras in an attempt to turn them. In fact, Kanan inadvertently showed Dre how to destroy an organization from the inside. Though he wasn't fully successful in toppling Ghost and Tommy, Dre would later implement these tactics against Tommy's crew, building a treacherous bond with Cristobal after Tommy spurned him for the coveted distro position. In the case of Kanan, however, his plan was nullified by Tommy's arrest following the Lobos meet. In a last-ditch effort towards revenge, Kanan enlisted his son Sean, who he'd been chiseling away at since his release. He used Sean's desire for Tasha and the true narrative behind their separation as fuel, gassing Sean into doing his bidding and proving his loyalty. Sean predictably failed in his attempt to kill the only father figure he ever knew, and admonished his father for using him for selfish gain. Fed up with his son's ineptitude, combined with the perceived disloyalty, Kanan committed the unthinkable. He executed his own son in cold-blooded fashion. This was a major milestone in the series and Kanan's arc at large. It placed him in unforgivable territory and set the stage for a naive Tariq to be raised up by Kanan as the son he wished he had in later seasons. After the murder of Sean, Kanan conspired with Tommy to finally move on Ghost. However, Tommy tricked Kanan, luring him into an ambush, although Tommy wouldn't show for personal reasons against his brother. At the warehouse, Ghost and Kanan had an epic showdown, something that was teased all season long. After a vigorous struggle, it was Ghost who came out on top, stabbing Kanan, setting him ablaze, and leaving him for dead. This is where the audience thought him to be as well, until the epilogue of the finale, where a steel door is shown, broken through. In Season 3, we're shown a recovering Kanan fighting through multiple injuries and scars following his showdown with Ghost. Kanan nursed himself back to health with the assistance of his cutthroat cousin Jukebox and her alluring girlfriend Candy. We knew Kanan was a heartless killer, but Jukebox was Kanan on steroids. Though the latter remained true, she held a soft spot for Kanan as he previously accepted her when no one else would due to her sexuality. Jukebox was Kanan's connection to DC, and he hustled there in between our main narrative. It explained why at certain points throughout the series he was absent. Juke was a pivotal bridge towards Kanan's recovery and helped him regain literal and financial footing. She pulled him into a jewelry heist, a standout moment of the season that allowed him enough capital to return to New York and ultimately his original plan, killing Ghost and taking over his organization. However, that plan would be retooled following a conversation with Jukebox. "You need to rethink your revenge," she said. "Killing Ghost would be too easy. Before you make a move, you got to ask yourself, what did Ghost really take away from you?" Jukebox's cryptic words simultaneously inspired his forthcoming poisoning of Tariq and her own demise when she threatened his life, the son after Kanan's own heart. Kanan returned to New York and was furious upon discovering Dre's newfound position within Ghost's legitimate business. He threatened Dre's life and that of his daughter, blackmailing him into gathering information against his new employer. Dre's subjugation led Kanan to Tariq, Ghost's son. Kanan befriended Tariq and bonded with him in a vengeful plot to hurt Ghost on multiple fronts. He lured Tariq back to his former associate's apartment, that being Breeze, with intentions of killing his rival's only son. However, Tariq revealed his resentment and discontent for his father, and Kanan decided to utilize these frustrations for his own aims. This represented another pillar in his arc and forged a bond that would be unshakable until his demise 2 seasons later. Kanan pulled Tariq in closer, introducing him to street life and associations. Jukebox, never losing sight of Kanan's treacherous plans for Ghost, encouraged him to ransom Tariq by season's end, and Kanan obliged, terrifying Tasha on 2 fronts following Ghost's arrest. At the top of Season 4, Kanan's plans are thwarted by Ghost's coinciding arrest. Dre, who was looking for Tariq, agreed to pay Kanan and his associates what the St. Patrick's could not, and Tariq was released from his blind bondage safe and sound. That's not before Kanan broke news of Ghost's arrest to him, further driving the wedge of uncertainty in Reek's already scorned heart. Following Tariq's release, Kanan took pleasure in Ghost's legal troubles, paralleling the latter's current prison predicament to his own. Kanan furthered his influence on Tariq by teaching him additional hustles and simultaneously used his affluent connections to gain access to greater spoils. With every hustle, every criminal act and endeavor, Kanan was gradually turning Tariq against his father, something that Ghost did with Sean inversely. Dre continued subsidizing Kanan, but warned him of Tommy and Tasha's growing suspicions. However, Kanan was at the point of no return in his bond with Tariq. Tariq flourished under his tutelage as a budding hustler, unaffected by pressure. In this way, he reminded him of his former protege and Tariq's father. Kanan's prior removal of Sean left a void that he filled with Tariq's presence, making it nearly impossible to release him fully. You see, there's no man who is king-minded that doesn't desire a prince, someone to bless with all of his knowledge and wisdom. Kanan attempted to do this with his own son, but was rebuffed by him. And in the end, his callousness could not permit Sean's lack of respect and failure to advance his father's aims. Thus, he had to go. Kanan also began developing something for Tariq he never displayed for his own son: love. But more on that in a second. Jukebox kidnapped Tariq, seizing the opportunity to finally extort Ghost and crush him for all his crimes against her beloved cousin. Kanan apprehensively went along with her plot. He finally revealed his existence to his primary foe, forcing him into robbing Tommy for the ransom money while his friend was out of town on business. During this interaction, the two had a semi-reunion of sorts, maneuvering in dynamic fashion that lent credibility to their previous camaraderie in the streets. In the third act of the episode, Kanan decided against Juke's diabolical plans for Tariq and instead helped Ghost save him. Tragically, though, it cost him the life of his cousin, as he had to shoot her to save the closest thing he had to an heir. Interestingly enough, prior to removing Juke, Kanan was forced into revealing the truth to Tariq about his initial schemes against him. These revelations included his true identity, street history, and murder of his son, Kanan Stark. In a way, though his life was threatened, Tariq maintained a strong respect for Kanan. This is due to his respect for what Kanan represented to him, the truth. We'll explore this dynamic heavily in Tariq's analysis, so definitely stay tuned. Kanan reached back out to Dre, following the Tariq fiasco to no avail. He was subsequently attacked by two assassins belonging to Cristobal's Hermanos Taínos. The attack was unleashed by Dre during his takeover in the latter portion of Season 4. Kanan confronted Tommy about the fumbled hit, but he revealed the true origins of the hitters, allying them both against a common enemy. Kanan formed a crew to make a play against Dre, who was strengthened more than ever by his season-long maneuvers against Tommy and backing from the Jimenez brothers. In the midst of this new plot, Kanan was informed of Raina's death and put two and two together following a call from Tariq. He contacted Tommy and told him of Ray Ray, the true culprit of the tragic murder. After Ray Ray was killed, Kanan aligned himself with Tommy and Ghost against Dre. However, due to Dre's new affiliations, they realized that revenge would have to be carried out strategically. Thus, they plotted their revenge for the next season. Season 5 was a continuation of Kanan's alliance with his former foes. Though working with them closely, he still plotted towards his series-long goal, regaining his foothold and position in the drug game. At all costs. He attempted this by manipulating his way into Tommy's good graces, while simultaneously subverting him to Jason and Vincent, Tommy's boss and extended family respectively. By bringing Jason the head of Diego Jimenez, he had finally achieved the entrance needed to reign in the streets as he once did. In addition to this, Kanan continued building Tariq's criminal IQ, taking him on excursions meant to offer field experience to the criminal upstart. He also affirmed Tariq's slaying of Ray Ray, something his family did everything to deny and rebuke. This only strengthened their bond and distanced Tariq further from his flock. These would be Kanan's final lessons to his understudy, as Tariq was coerced by Tasha to frame him for Ray Ray's murder. He went along with her plot begrudgingly, but not without merit. Tariq was ultimately scorned by Kanan's execution of Sean, something that irreparably changed him, and in an act of absolute poetry, Tariq betrayed Kanan, leading to his death. This betrayal was not without pretext, however. Remember, Kanan missed out on Sean's formative years, and Tariq was malleable when Kanan took him under his demonic wing. Kanan murdering his true son allowed his makeshift one to betray him in the end, because even though Tariq did so apprehensively, his hand was forced. He loved Sean and was devastated by his removal. Thus, when Kanan was pulled over by the cops in the twilight of Season 5 with a planted murder weapon in the trunk, Tariq played his position. This event did not go exactly as planned in spite of this treachery though. Kanan gave audiences around the world the greatest final hurrah in modern television. Unabashed in his stance on never returning to prison, he attempted to shoot his way out of trouble with a frightened Tariq looking on. Kanan successfully took a few cops with him, but was ultimately defeated by the injuries he sustained in combat. Prior to his final breath, he was in a position to kill his treacherous understudy. However, he decided against such an action in one final display of love for the son he never had. Kanan attempted to flee the murderous scene, but succumbed to his wounds and died. Kanan only has 2 appearances in Power's final season, but they're arguably the most important. In Ghost's Swan Song episode, No One Can Stop Me, Kanan appeared to Ghost to remind him that he's essentially no better now than he was previously. And no matter how high he ascends politically or otherwise, he'll always be a killer. The denial of such a reality is what inspired hatred in all of Ghost's associations, according to Kanan's spirit. And if you caught my breakdown of the Ghost Man, then you know there's some merit to that perspective. The final vision we see of Kanan is his appearance to Tariq, his former understudy. He appealed to his mentee to take control, implementing all of the lessons he gave him to do what he must, as opposed to leaving fate in his mother's hands. Tariq concurred and made peace with the spirit for his own transgressions against him, but not before Kanan congratulated Tariq on that grimy shit he did to Tommy, calling Vincent in order to slow him from saving Ghost's life. This exchange between Tariq's natural and Kanan's spiritual caused Tariq to do the unthinkable, and in a major way, provided Kanan with the long-sought revenge he'd craved since Season 1, alliances aside. Kanan's series-long arc was to get back at Ghost and reclaim his spot in Hustler infamy. In the end, though he lost the battle, he indeed won the war. So as Tommy would say, rest in peace, Kanan, you tough bastard. Thank you for watching today's video. As always, if you liked today's video, go ahead and hit the like button for us, share it with your friends who are Power and Power Book 2 fans, and subscribe for more content such as this. We have 3 more parts on the way in our character analysis breakdown series, and any more you want to see me do after that, be sure to drop it in the comments below. So as always, thank you again. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beats, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.